Okay, so this is the Google Drive that we're going to use, ABM12D. And you will also post your reports here, group report, and then your individual, you're going to post it in Canvas. Okay, so let's open this. This is the outline for our paper. So this is your guide, final paper outline, business finance, senior high school department. Okay, of course, you should have the cover page, the table of contents, and there are actually 9 chapters. Kasi yung reference, hindi na naman chapter yan. So, 9 chapters lang. No? 9 chapters. Okay, so the first chapter will be comparison, company and comparison background. Okay, let me just clarify this. If you notice sa Excel ano natin, sa Google Sheet natin, dito merong company, may nakalimutan akong ilagay dito. May company dito, ano, tapos may benchmark. Now, what does that mean? Ibig sabihin yan, guys, dalawang companies ang talagang titingnan natin. Hindi lang yung isang company, but also another company. Pag nag-financial statements analysis tayo, i-compare natin yung company of our choice to the direct competitor, yung closest competitor niya. No? So, kunyari, hindi pa pwedeng si Jollibee pipiliin niya, tapos si Burger Machine. Hindi pa pwede yun. Kailangan yung company nyo, hahanapin nyo yung pinaka-direct competitor niya. So, hindi pa pwede, guys, hindi pa pwede monopoly lang. No? Kailangan may direct competitor. Kasi i-compare natin, i-benchmark natin yung performance ng company of our choice to the direct competitor. Mas maganda nga yung kung company natin mas lesser o mas hindi yung benchmark natin mas maganda kung siya yung talaga mas magaling, no? Okay, yeah. Kunyari, McDonald's and Jollibee, that can be the choice, no? Okay, Globe and Smart, yun, basta mga direct competitor. Okay, just some highlights about this. Number 1, huwag kayong pipili, guys, ng financing institution, ng bangko. Kasi mahirap yung financial statements nila. Okay? Siyempre, medyo realistic tayo sa pwede natin i-accomplish through this paper. Dapat yung kaya naman natin basahin yung mga accounts, no? Kasi yung financial institutions medyo mahirap and complicated yung mga accounts nila. And it will be very difficult for us to analyze that. So please don't go into that, no? Do not go also into holding companies, yung mother companies. Kasi mga mother companies, maraming hawak ng companies yan. So mahirap din i-analyze yan. Okay? So ang piliin nyo, guys, either manufacturing or service. Okay? So dapat it should also be listed in the Philippine Stock Exchange. So this will require you to know what the Philippine Stock Exchange is all about, and then ano yung mga companies na naka-list doon. So doon kayo pipili. Bakit yung mga companies doon? Kasi mas madaling humanap ng information about them. Required kasi sila ng PSE to always report their financial statements. Kasi since listed sila, ibig sabihin the public could also invest in them sa secondary market. So dapat, ano yung information nila? Dapat may transparency ng information. Okay? So yun ang mga guidelines natin sa pagpili. And first come, first serve, guys. Ibig sabihin, kunyari, pinili ko na si Jollibee and McDonald's, okay? Hindi na pwede yan sa hindi na pwedeng piliin yan. Kaya ilagay nyo, guys, yung date and time na finill up nyo to. I hope, guys, by next week, na pwede na kayong maglagay dito, no? Hanap muna kayo ng company at saka hanapin nyo rin yung FS. So, kunyari, pinili nyo, Cebu Pacific, tapos PAL. Tapos nakita nyo na, ay, ang hirap pala ng FS nito, pwede nyo palitan. No? Just make sure that yung ipapalit nyo, hindi pa nakalist dito sa ibang groups. It will be a first come, first serve basis. So ilalagay natin dito yung date and time, just in case there are disputes. There are disputes to kung sino, sandali guys, ginugulo ko ng tuta dito, kinakagat yung Yung microphone ko. Okay, sorry. So, in case there are disputes, guys, madali nating i-resolve. Okay? Honesty principle, guys. Pero hindi naman siguro aabot sa ganun kasi ang daming companies naman eh. Tapos syempre, i-check nyo na din, mag-due diligence kayo na pag nakita nyo na may nakalagay na dito na Jollibee, huwag nyo na ilagay, no? Huwag nyo na ilagay dun sa company of your choice. Okay, so back to our outline, company background, company nyo at saka yung pinaka-benchmark, yung direct competitor. And then, sino yung mga board of directors? Just do not list, no? Mag-comment kayo about the board of directors kasi independent ba yung board of directors na to? Is there independence in the board of directors? Kasi requirement ng SEC yan, guys. Securities and Exchange Commission na yung board of directors dapat dapat may independence yan, no? Okay, also, gone are the days na minsan ginagawa ng ibang ano yan, na parang negosyo na nila, na nagbo-board sila sa maraming companies. Kasi bawat meeting, malaki din yung bayad sa kanila dyan. Eh. Kasi they're there to give inputs, no? They're there to help steer the direction of the company. And ang pinaka-role talaga ng board of directors is to protect the interests of the shareholders. Kasi walang presence yung shareholders dun sa mga meeting o sa ginagawa ng company. Kailangan yung board, parang fiscalizer sila para walang yung general management hindi ma-abuse yung position nila. Di ba, naalala yung agency problem, guys? So the board of directors are there to help ensure or make sure or mitigate against agency problems. Okay, then explain yung industry. Anong industry ba yan? Tapos market analysis. Yung 4 Ps, ano ba yung product ang ino-offer ng industry na yan? Ano ba yung target market na yan? Ano ba yan? A to E ba yan? Etc. So at least we know, we understand where the environment that the players are moving, no? Where they are moving in. And then financial objectives ng company. Okay, sandali ba yung nag-chat? Ano yun pa? Papi reveal. Oo nga. Papi reveal. Thank you, Johnny. No? Binigyan yung nephew ko ng papi. Tapos, ang hirap mag-alaga. Pero, worth the naman. Yeah. I know, baka iba sa inyo may mga puppies, may mga din, ano. Iba talaga yung man's best friend din, ano, yung mga aso. Okay. So, companies in the Philippines lang, yes. Thank you, Lance, for that question. Philippine companies lang, guys, kasi mahihirapan tayo kung international, no? Kasi una-una, yung currency niyan, dollars yan. I-convert nyo pa into pesos yan. So, mahirap. Mas readily available yung information ng mga listed companies, guys. You'll be surprised na kayo magsasawa sa mga information. Okay, so ang sources nyo, yung websites nila, Securities and Exchange Commission, PSE, Philippine Stock Exchange. Okay? All right. So, moving on, guys, Chapter 2 will just be the summary of the financial ratios. So, 5 types ng financial ratios. We have liquidity ratios, asset management ratios, debt ratio, profitability, and market value ratios. So, 5 yan, ipapakita nyo dito yan, no? Yung computation. Okay? Parang summary lang siya. And then, may measures pa dito. Kunyari, yung ROE, return on equity. Kaya natin sinasama din to kasi dati ito yung pinaka-importanting measure. Hanggang na-overcome na siya, na-overturn na siya ng ibang mas reliable na measures. ROE kasi return on equity. Kasi this shows us ano yung earnings ng bawat share ng shareholders, no? Bawat share. So this can be broken down into 3 factors. Ang tawag dito, guys, 3-way analysis. Ang na-develop nito yung company na DuPont. In order to measure ROE, sabi nila, we can look at 3 factors: profit margin, total asset turnover, and financial leverage multiplier. Meron pang 5-way analysis, no? But we'll just focus on 3-way analysis. Okay? So, minultiply lang yung tatlong yan. Okay? You get the return on equity. And then we have these very important measures also: net operating working capital, total operating capital, NOPAT, FCF, ROIC, MVA, EVA. These guys we're going to learn when we go to module 2. No? Iisa-isahin natin yan. Tapos aaralin natin kung ano ibig sabihin yan para sa FS analysis nyo, meron kayong masasabi. No? Kasi unfair naman sa inyo na i-require ko lang tapos hindi ko naman tinuro pala yan. No? So, I'm going to teach that. And then chapter 3, guys, will be a focused discussion on the liquidity ratios. Chapter 4, asset management. Sorry, mali ito. Pakigawang asset management, not assets management. Asset management ratios, debt management ratio, profitability ratios. Chapters 3 to 6. Hindi na natin sinama yung market value ratios. Hindi na natin sinama dito sa analysis. Ang sinama na lang natin dito, chapter 7 will be horizontal and vertical analysis, which we're going to learn in module 2. And then, syempre, may discussion dyan and interpretation and analysis. Chapter 8 will be recommendation. Pick at least 5 areas. Kasi in the course of your analysis of the company, makakita kayo ng issue possibly sa liquidity, sa asset management, sa debt, sa profitability. As much as possible, yung 5 areas nyo, i-scatter nyo no, across these ratios or across these other measures. Ito, pwede rin kayo makakita ng issue dito no, o sa ROE. Okay? So in general, marami kayong pwedeng makita, guys, when you compare it with the benchmark company. No? And when you also do horizontal analysis, kasi yung horizontal analysis, ang ginagawa natin dyan, ano yung increase over time. For example, meron tayong, ito yung common size statement, no? Common size statement, and then yung horizontal trend analysis. Okay, let's say, guys, nung 2019 to 2020, okay, ibig sabihin nito, by the way, guys, 3 years yung yung FS na kukunin nyo, no? So it's either 2018, 19, 20, okay? Or kung wala pang 2020 kayo makita, but it's highly unlikely kasi kung listed dyan, dapat meron na yan, 2017, 18, 19. But you have to inform me, guys, no? Okay, so example, guys, horizontal analysis. Ano yung horizontal analysis? Well, tinitingnan natin how these accounts grew over time. For example, mali ito, no? Sorry, guys, this is wrong. This should be 2018 to 2019. So yung sales, 3,432 million, naging 5,834. So ibig sabihin yan, there was a 70% growth of sales between 2018 and 2019. Okay? And then, from 2019 to 2020, so dapat 2019 to 22, naging 21% na lang. So ibig sabihin, bumaba yung growth ng sales, no? 70% tapos 21%. It would be good, guys. Actually, kung deep dive tayo, aalamin natin kung bakit kaya ito 7, ang laki ng increase dito pero dito bumaba. Okay, what were the market forces noong 2019? Bakit grabe yung 70% increase ng sales ng company na to? Pero noong 2019 to 2020, bumaba naman siya. Okay? So syempre, hindi naman, since we're not working for the company, we might not have all the reasons. We might not be privy to some of the changes here, but we can only guess generally kung ano nangyari sa market. But at least offer some explanation. No? Okay, so yun, guys, yun sa recommendation. And recommend courses of action for the areas that you pick, no? For the issues or challenges that you suggested in this chapter 8. Lastly is more of a conclusion to. And then references, guys, you use the APA format. Okay, alam naman yata yung APA format, no? As to the font size, how you label yung tables, yung figures, how you cite references, etc. So this is a possible na reference, guys. Just go to this. Or dito, marami pang iba. Ito APA 7. This is from Purdue University. Okay, so you can utilize these resources para guided kayo kung paano mag-attribute. Kung gagamit kayo, guys, ng Word, I suggest you use Word instead of Google Sheet. Ang kagandahan lang ng Google Docs, guys, online siya, you can and your changes can be recorded. Tapos parang isang document where you can be working at the same time. Malamang naka-experience na kayong ganun, guys, ano? Ang kagandahan naman, guys, mas robust ang Word. Kunyari, gagawa kayo ng long document, pwede nyo gamitin yung features ng Word. Kunyari, pwede ng Word can easily create a table of contents, bibliography, may automatic yan sa Word, which cannot be found in Google Docs. As far as I know, unless na-improve na ng Google Docs. But personally, I don't use Google Docs pag gumagawa ako ng research document o gantong write-up, no? But it's really up to you. Okay, so that will be all for the outline. Yung outline natin ng case study, hopefully next week maibigay ko na. Okay, and magbibigay din ako ng guidance about that. All right, any questions about this, guys? So as early as this week, guys, pwede na kayo maghanap-hanap kung anong company ang gusto nyo. Tingnan nyo muna yung Philippine Stock Exchange. No? Tapos tingnan nyo rin yung mga listed companies. Tapos mag-explore kayo. Ano ba yung mga sectors na andyan dyan? Avoid the financial sector, guys. Mahirap ano yun yung mga financial statements nila. Okay? Also yung mga holding companies, huwag yung kukunin yun. Focus on service, manufacturing, etc. Okay? Any questions? Wala? Okay. So let's continue our discussion. Okay, last time I think we were done on defining what finance is. Tama ba yun, guys? Nag-define na natin. So quickly, sabi natin finance has something to do with mobilization of resources, no? Managing resources, kasi alam naman natin na we know that resources are not infinite. Can you see the screen, guys? Hindi ko na lang i-maximize. No? Pero kita nyo ba? Paki-chat nga kung yes.
Yes, po, sir. Kita.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, salamat. No? Okay, sabi natin, when we talk of finance, it's all about resource allocation. No? Kasi hindi nga infinite yung resources ng organization. Kung mag-i-invest sila sa isang negosyo, kailangan ng pondo, anong gagawin nila para makakuha ng pondo? Okay, uutang ba sila? Okay ba yung investment na yan? Okay, so these are a lot of questions, and it falls under the purview of managing resources. Okay, allocating resources and field ng finance yan. Okay, sabi natin, finance deals with matters related to money. And our example last time was yung mga mother companies natin, for example, Ayala or DMCI or SM, and for them to decide, diversified kasi mga companies yan, guys, no? Hindi lang nasa isang basket yung pera nila. They're into several industries. And the main motivation for this is to diversify against risk, mitigate against risk. So that if a particular industry, let's say, falls, no, meron pang ibang industries which the company can depend on. Okay, so ganun yung pinaka-purpose ng diversification. It mitigates against risk. It minimizes risk. Okay, so that's why companies would invest in different strategic business units. Okay, so ito na yung mga companies sila in that particular industry. Okay, so we also said yung ibang sabi natin, titingnan natin next week yung institutions, instruments, markets about money, ano? And it will involve the transfer of money, kaya titingnan natin yung flow of funds. In general, itong mga activities na to, guys, whether it's financing, investing, ang main objective na yan is to be able to maximize shareholder value, no? The creation of economic value. Doing things that are inimical to maximizing shareholder value would create what we call destruction of value. No? Magiging value destroyers sila instead of value creators. Okay, so that's important. This is according to Kian. Okay, so others would say that corporate finance is just an extension of accounting. Well, to a certain degree, yes, kasi ginagamit natin yung inputs ng accountancy process, no? Accounting process. Pero hindi lang yun. Ginagamit natin inputs ng accounting, pero yung analysis sa finance na yan, no? Okay? Sabi ng iba din na finance is all about financial modeling. To a certain degree, yes, kailangan yung financial modeling, but it's not a part lang yung financial modeling, guys. And finance is not just a subsector of banking. In the corporate sense, guys, anything that involves decision to use cash, nasa province ng finance yan, involved dapat ang finance. So whether it's marketing, it's operations, HR, whatever financing, whatever function, guys, kailangan ng say ng finance. Okay, so ito, sinabi natin dito na pag may financial implication, dapat sakop ng finance yan. So for example, here, marketing, pricing ng product or services, it needs input of finance. No? Kung mag-establish yung company, this is a capital investment, an information system, mahal kasi yan. So, importante na mapasok ang financial para malaman nila para makapagbigay sila ng opinion, an educated opinion based on calculations, based on financial mathematics, kung okay ba to acquire that functionality of let's say the talent management, database, etc. So, kahit na yun, human capital, no? Or OB, organizational behavior, or organizational development, any projects that will involve the cash outlay, kailangan katulong ang finance yan. Corporate strategy, ito yung sinasabi natin kanina, na mag-i-invest ba tayo sa industry na to? Ano yung magiging basis natin? Okay, so these things are very important because finance will have a say on that. So, ganun din sa operations. Okay. So, any field, guys, any discipline has its own theoretical constructs, theoretical principles. Si finance, ganun din. So, titingnan natin, guys, yung mga basic principles of finance, yung mga first principles natin. And it involves the investment principle, financing principle, at saka dividend principle. Okay, so let me flash this. Okay, now tatlong principles sa investment. Pag investment, ang tinatanong natin dyan, okay ba mag-invest sa business na to? So yun ang magandang katanungan dyan. Okay ba mag-invest dito sa itong business opportunity na to? Is that good? Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, guys. No? Paki sa chat. Okay. Let's see kung magagamit ko itong okay, magbabago na lang ako ng slide. Okay, let's assume, guys, na may return tayo na inanalyze ng finance, tapos ang return ng project is 10%. Sabihin natin it's a 10% return. Question. Go ba tayo dyan or no go? So, pakichat nga, guys. If you were the CFO, for example, ang sasabihin niyo ba dyan, go yung project or no go? Okay, let's see your opinion. Let's see your stand. No go. Thank you, Rian. Lexi, no go. So, yung iba, guys, I want to see your opinion kung go ba siya o no go siya. Kay Jody, it's a go. No? Kay Venice, it's a no go. So medyo magkakaiba tayong magkakaiba tayong opinion. Sophia is go. Okay, yung iba, guys, kindly chat. Go or no go kayo for you. No? 10% yung returns. Okay, kay Ron, go. Kay Ivan, go. Rishan, go. Lance, go. Kay Francine is go. Gianna is go. Marami sa inyong go. No? Lawrence, Micah, Lindsay, Marion, super go si Marion, talagang as in go. Bridget, go then. Okay, so I think many of you were saying go. No? Si Micah, the bigger the return, the bigger the risk. Mamaya tingnan natin, Micah, yan, yung principle na yan. For now, sagutin muna natin tong question na to. Go ba or no go? So let me ask Bridget, okay lang ba to ask you if why sinasabi mo na go yung yung project na to if the return is 10%? What came to your mind?
Sir, ano po, I actually had the same opinion with Micah po kasi mas
Mm-mm.
mahirap po kasi pag mas malaki yung return mo ba in your
Mm-mm.
project. I think it's good that parang you start small lang, parang small returns first, and then slowly you can build up po siya, sir. Parang, kumbaga, it's not exactly trial and error, but having a huge return ba, sir, I don't think, coach po, I don't think it's exactly a good idea na malaki agad yung return mo kasi it's also harder to manage in case po.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Pero Bridget, what is small returns? Ano yung high returns then?
Sir, I guess more returns is parang mas mataas na percentage po sa 10. Sir,
O
based
ilan,
on,
ilan kaya yon?
sir, I guess like around siguro 25%, yun. Sir.
Okay, thank you, no? Thank you for that sharing. Now, medyo ang challenge nun sa sinabi ni Bridget, no? Thank you, Bridget, for you need to risk. Okay. Tama, no? Lexi. Guys, pag nag-share kayo ng ano, pakilagay sa ano, pakilagay sa everyone para ano, para makita ng iba, no? Okay, but you're correct, Lexi. Sabi niya, kailangan pag may business, may risk din 'yan, no? Hindi mawawala, sabi nga natin, hindi mawawala ang risk sa isang negosyo. Okay, pero balikan muna natin tong 10% na to, no? Kasi may lumabas na 25% na ano, ang hirap natin pag ganyan, guys. If I talk to 1,000 people, they will have 1,000 different answers, no? Siguro yung iba magkakapareho, pero more or less yan, maraming magkakaibang answer. So, paano yung ganyang decision making, guys? Kasi parang masyado siyang opinionated, masyado siyang subjective. So, if I will take a look at this, baka sabihin ko yung go, tapos sasabihin naman yung isa, no go. So, sino yung masusunod sa ganun? Diba? Pagalingan na lang ng reasons, ganun. Okay, now, the good thing about finance is it stands on solid principles. So, hindi tayo at a loss kung ano yung magiging decision natin kasi may mga sound principles na ginagamit tayo. Okay, in order to answer this question, kailangan muna natin malaman kung ano yung, okay, so let me share with you what this value is, itong WAC. No? Okay, so kailangan natin malaman, kailangan natin makapag-decide, we need to decide kung okay itong 10% na to o hindi. Okay, as you notice, may conflicting answers tayo. No? Conflicting answers natin kasi we're coming from different perspectives. No? We're coming maybe from, yung iba sabi no go kasi siguro naliliitan dun sa 10%. Yung iba naman go kasi okay na yung 10% na yan. So, what will now be the final answer? No? So, in order to answer that, sabi natin na ang kagandahan nito, may principles tayo sa finance. So, we're going to answer that question kung okay yung 10% by defining first yung concept ng WAC. WAC means weighted average cost of capital. Okay, weighted average cost of capital, ibig sabihin nun, magkano ba on the average yung cost of financing para sa company? Di ba yung financing, it comes from either debt or equity, di ba? So in general, magkano yung cost na to? Okay, and how do you compute this? You actually compute this by, okay, sulat ko lang, no? WAC is equal to the summation of your wiki. No? So yan lang yan. No? Weight multiplied by the cost. Okay? So summation siya, ibig sabihin, cost of debt kunyari, weight ng debt times cost ng debt times 1 minus tax. Okay, notice guys, yung component ng debt, yung contribution niya sa cost is after tax, no? Binabawas yung tax. Kasi nga, may tax, nagkakaroon ng savings guys kung gumagamit ng debt. No? Explain that in greater detail mamaya. No? Plus, weight ng preferred stock times cost ng preferred stock plus weight ng common stock times cost ng common stock. Okay, so that's the way to go about computing for the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, and another name for this, let me just share with you. What is another name for this? Another name for this is what we call the hurdle rate. Hurdle rate to. Hurdle. Ano yung hurdle, di ba? Yung kunyari sa 110-meter hurdles, yung tinatalo ng mga competitors, sa mga sprint, mga runners, yung hurdles. Ang hurdle guys, ibig sabihin, ito yung kailangan ma-overcome. Okay, so let's suppose that the WACC is 12%. WACC for the firm is 12%. Okay, can we now answer that question? Okay ba yung project na to na ang return niya 10%? Masasagot na natin yan. Kasi may benchmark na tayo. And this is the principle of finance. No? Kapag yung return niyan is higher than the average rate, average cost of capital ng company, then okay yung project. Kasi yung cost ng pagkukuha ng capital ng company is the WACC. And if it's 10%, if it's 12%, the company should only approve projects whose returns are above 12%. Diba? So we now have a solid foundation, a logical decision-making tool. Okay? So, yun yung sinasabi natin, dun sa investment decision, maghahanap yung company, anong negosyo ba ang magandang puntahan ng company, no? Tapos, ano ba yung mga acceptable na businesses? Ano ba yung acceptable na projects na pupuntahan natin? Ito yung principle na yun. Kailangan yung return ng project should be higher than the weighted average cost of capital or the hurdle rate. Now take note guys na okay, back na okay, so sandali Okay, now based on that question, okay. So WACC muna, no? Inalam na natin yung WACC. Okay, balik tayo dito. Back here. So we were talking about the investment decision, no? Capital decision. Okay, what projects to invest in? Ano yung acquisitions na gagawin? Tapos, dapat yung returns, guys, ang sinasabi dito, it should be the highest possible risk-adjusted return. Ang implication nito, guys, dapat higher than the WACC yung return. Pagdating, guys, sa capital financing, paano i-fund yung business? Itong sasagutin nito, kung may investment, paano natin ipopondohan yan? Okay, so meron tayong tinatawag na matching, matching principle dyan, no? Utang ba yung gagamitin natin dyan or is it equity infusion? Yun ang mga tanong na kailangan masagot sa financing, no? Tapos another important question is, okay, optimize, okay. Another important question is ito. Punta ulit ako dito, no? So ang WACC, guys, okay. So, in order to determine ang WACC, alam dapat natin yung capital structure ng company. Okay? So this is the capital structure. Imagine this is a building. Okay? Based on the equation that the assets of the firm is financed either by utang or by equity, if we divide this by A, ano mangyayari dito guys? This becomes your debt ratio. This becomes your equity ratio. Equity ratio. So the structure of the firm is yung percentage, yung proportion ng debt at saka ng equity. So debt ratio dito, equity ratio dito. Okay? Ang tanong, ilang percent? So that's what's the optimal capital mix? So that's called your capital structure or capital mix. O, paki-chat guys, para sa inyo, ano ba yung proportion na yan? Unahin nyo yung sa debt. So 50-50 ba yan? 50 debt, 50 equity? Or 60-40 ba yan? O 30-40? Okay, may I request you to please chat your answers, guys? Para sa inyo, ano yung pinakamaganda na na capital structure? Ilang proportion yung debt, ilang proportion yung equity? Let's see guys kung yung sa inyo guys, I hope you don't look at the internet. Para sa inyo, ano yung magandang capital structure? Magbigay kayo ng percentage sa akin. 50-50 ba? 40-60? Okay, thank you Lexi. Kay Lexi 55-45. Kay Lexi mas mataas yung debt, no, kaysa sa equity. Okay, the rest guys, baliktad. Okay, so kay Lexi pala, 45-55. Okay, sige. Thank you, Lexi. 45-55 kay Lexi. Kay Sofia, okay, unahin nyo guys yung debt. Kay Sofia, 40-60. Kay Ivan, 30-70. So, mas konti yung debt kay Ivan. The rest, guys, I want to see your answers. Okay, yeah. Okay lang yun, Sofia, no problem. No problem. Kay Jody, mas conservative si Jody, 20-80, no? 20 yung utang, 80 yung equity. Okay, the rest guys, so makita yung ano nyo, yung what's on your mind. 20-80 kay Jody, 30-70 kay Ivan, kay Sofia, 40-60. Kay Lexi, 45-55, ano pa? Lawrence, 30-70. Thank you. Who else, guys? 40-60 kay Ron, 30-70, 25-75, 35-65, okay? Rishan, 30-70, thank you. Bridget, 30-70 din, okay. Grace, ganun din, 30-70. Okay, Lance, 30-70. Notice guys that mukhang divided yung house natin, no? And I saw some of you, lowest na nakita ko 20 yung debt, tapos may 50-50, okay? Sa kabilang class guys, may nakita akong 0-100, zero debt, no? Okay, zero debt. So dito sa class natin, ang nakita natin pinakamababa yung yung 20-80. Okay, sa kabilang class merong 0-100, no? Okay, ang tanong guys, ano yung maganda? What's the optimal capital structure? Okay, now, discuss ko itong 0-90, Okay, meron pa nga din sa kabilang class, baliktad naman, it's 95-5. Okay, hindi ko makita yung, yan. Tignan natin itong 0-100 at saka may 595 dun sa kabilang class. Tapos baliktarin natin, 100-0, okay, 90-10, mataas yung debt. Okay, now, may importante ba yung debt, guys? On a personal level, may mga tao talagang ayaw ng utang, no? Kasi parang hindi makatulog na baka hindi mabayaran, o yung stress ng saan kukunin yung interest payments, and that's very valid, no? But take note guys, this is not personal finance, na ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, corporate finance. So is it good for a company to have debt? Okay, the answer guys is, baka may sumagot, yun ako. Parang lingering connections with others, okay? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Ivan. Sabi ni, may lingering connection, tapos si Ivan naman sabi, yes, good yun. Okay, the answer guys is yes. It's good to have debt. Okay? For what reason? Maglagay tayo ng isa pang dito. Mag-insert tayo dito ng isang slide. Okay. Bakit importante na may debt yung isang company? Okay, theoretically guys, ang debt, okay, yan. Babalikan natin, Lawrence, yung trust. Importante yan, yung trust. Okay, importante guys na magkaroon ng debt. Unang-una, for the simple reason that it's not always that a company has sufficient cash flows to fund a business, to fund a project or a proposal. Okay, chances are magkakaroon ng magandang proposal, magandang negosyo, magandang industriya na pwedeng pasukin, tapos hindi sufficient yung finance, yung pera ng company. So just because of that, sasabihin ba natin na, wag na lang tayong pumasok sa negosyo yan kasi kulang yung pondo natin. Kahit na alam natin na pwedeng umutang, no? Okay, so to exploit those opportunities, pwede tayong umutang. Okay? That's one reason. Another reason, guys, is that meron tinatawag na leverage effect ng leverage effect. Alam niyo liver, di ba? Okay. You know what a liver is? Hindi yung liver na part ng body, Okay. Alam niyo liver? Ito, it's not pronounced as lever, unilever. It's leverage ng firm. There's such a thing as leverage. Okay, it saves time. Okay, parang simple machine siya. So ang leverage, guys, ang ginagawa niyan, may re-erase yan. It erases something. Okay, so it's called a financial leverage or operating leverage then. So ito guys, madi-discuss natin later on pa. Pero let me just share with you, for example, kunyari, ito yung EBIT ng company. EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes, let's say it's 100. Tapos ito yung firm na 0-100, walang interest, walang utang. No? So zero siya dito. So our earnings before tax is 100. Our tax, let's assume our tax is 30%. So this will be 30. Therefore, our earnings after tax is 70. So that's the income statement of this company na walang utang. Yung isa naman may utang, no? May utang yung company, no? So parehong sales. Okay, parehong sales sa 100. Okay, may utang siya. Sabihin natin na 30 yung interest expense. 30. So ang EBT natin will become 70. Ang tax natin, 30% ng 70, that's 21. Okay? Ang net income natin, this becomes 49. Okay. So, what do we notice now, guys? Ano nangyari sa ano natin? Nagkaroon tayo ng tax savings, di ba? Ito. So, ito yung leveraging component, guys, ng ano ng utang. Bumababa yung bumababa yung taxable base natin. Kasi interest is tax deductible. So dito, ang tax natin, 30, dito 21 na lang. So nagkakaroon ng leverage, guys. Although pwede nyo sabihin, mas maliit yung income after tax, no? True. Mas maliit yung income earnings after tax. Pero later on, guys, kukumpute natin to si financial leverage at saka si operating leverage. And you'll see that there's an advantage of using debt gumagamit ng utang kasi may leverage factor yan. Okay? Also, may nabanggit kanina, no? So, sino nagsabi ng trust? Pwedeng paki-shout out your name, no? I'd like to recognize that. Catches chances. Okay, correct, no? Ivan, correct, no? It can catch opportunities. Tapos, Lawrence, sabi ni Lawrence, no, yung trust. Okay, so, thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Sophia, Simple Machine. Grace, thank you. Thank you for your answers. Now, importante guys yung sinasabi natin trust sa negosyo. Okay? Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na 5 C's of character. Sige nga guys, I'll give you 1 minute. Hanapin niyo yung ano yung 5 C's of character. Can somebody chat that in the chat box, guys? Ito yung ginagamit. This is a sabihin natin guideline ng isang lending company, ng isang financial institution like a bank, kung paano magpahiram ng pera, no? Ano yung isang C doon na kailangan natin related to trust. Yan, okay. So, character, yan. Yun ang hinahanap natin, guys. Character. Ano yung character ng humihiram, guys? So, yung 5 C's ng ng credit, no? Ginagamit yan ng mga lending institutions. Of course, meron pang ibang benchmarks in order to determine kung magpapautang ba sila sa isang organization. No? Character. Okay. Character. Bakit? Pag yung company niyan, guys, kunyari, wala pa siyang track record, hindi pa umutang, makakahiram ba siya? Pwede. Kaso nga lang, guys, compared to si Globe umuutang, si Dito umuutang. Okay? Si Globe, guys, matagal na yan. Grabe yung track record yan as compared to dito. So, kung isa lang papahiramin natin, siyempre, you might go for Globe. No? Kasi, yung character ni Globe in terms of being able to pay, okay, yung character niya in terms of credit, yung credit rating niya, maganda. No? Okay? So, it's also important to carry on a credit, guys, kasi companies are also ranked according to credit ratings. Okay, pag maganda yung credit line mo, ibig sabihin, later on, pag nagkaroon ka ng opportunity, you'll be able to catch that opportunity. Kasi, kung hindi sufficient yung funds mo, pwede namang yung company, pwede namang finance it through borrowing. So, that's the advantage, guys, of having a good credit line. So, you notice, guys, yung mga companies, kahit yung malalaking companies, may mga liabilities yan, umuutang yan. Primarily because hindi nga sufficient yung funds ng company itself from retained earnings, hindi sufficient yan. As I said a while ago, if per chance there's a good business potential, and then should the finance people, the CFO, just say, ay, hindi na tayo mag-aan dyan kasi hindi sufficient yung funds natin. That's very wrong. Kasi kung pwedeng umutang para i-finance yung project, okay, syempre naman may due diligence yan, titingnan kung yung returns yan will be higher than the interest charges, Di maganda yan, magandang i-go yan. Okay? Otherwise, magkakaroon ng opportunity cost yung yung company. Sayang yung negosyo na yun. Just because on a false belief na hindi maganda magkautang. Maganda magkautang, guys. Of course, carried not to an extreme. Okay? Yeah, correct. Part po sa risk yung utang. That's correct. No? Kasi meron tayong risk ng liquidity risk ang tawag doon, guys. Solvency risk. The risk of not being able to pay our obligations when they come due. Magkakaroon talaga ng risk yan. Diyan papasok na yung galing ng finance. No? And of course, in consonance with the other functions. Sa marketing, kasi sila yung ng mga panibagong products. No? So kailangan yan, symbiotic dapat yung relationship ng ng isang firm. Okay, so back to my question, guys, no? So ano yung pinakamagandang capital structure? The best capital structure is not 50-50, it's not 40-60, it's not 100-0. Okay? But rather, it's a capital structure that maximizes, alam niyo na yung answer, guys, maximizes shareholder value. Okay? Nako-compute yan, guys. No? So if the capital structure is able to maximize shareholder value, that is the optimal capital structure. So ang implication yan, walang standard na capital structure. Walang standard na WACC. Depende yan sa company. Okay? Depende yan sa business conditions. Depende yan sa mga interest rate risk. Okay? So it's important, however, for finance to be able to know how to compute yung weighted average cost of capital, yung optimal capital structure, kasi yan ang gagamitin sa pag-compute ng WACC na kailangan para i-evaluate yung mga projects, yung mga potential businesses. Okay? So what's the optimal capital structure? The optimal capital structure is the capital mix that's able to maximize shareholder value. Okay. That's the answer there, guys, no? Na ma-maximize yung shareholder value. Okay, balik ulit tayo, guys, dito. Okay, so capital financing, no? Determine how to fund capital, how to fund investments. Okay, so isang importanteng principle dito, guys, yung matching. Kung yung asset natin short term, dapat ang financing yan, dapat short term. Kung yung asset natin long term yan, it's foolish, guys, to fund a long-term asset with a short-term borrowing. Hindi pa pwede yun. Kailangan long-term borrowing din. Okay? Long-term assets, long-term borrowing. Short-term assets, guys, it's not good to fund it with long-term borrowing kasi that's more costly. Short-term assets, short-term borrowing. Okay? So that's what we mean by capital financing and optimization of firm's capital structure, which is the capital structure that best maximizes shareholder value. Third principle, guys, is the dividends and return of capital. So tingnan lang natin to. Punta tayo ulit dun sa slide natin. Nasa yung slide natin kanina. Dito. Okay, ito na lang gamitin ko, no? So, saan ba nanggagaling the dividends, guys? It comes from your net income after tax. And then from there, the finance people have to decide together with the board, no? I-approve kasi ng board yan, kung mag-dividends ba o kung lahat ipapasok lang sa retained earnings. So this is retained earnings, yung proportion ng net income after tax na flowed back to the operations of the business is called your retention rate. And the amount that's set aside for dividends is yung proportion niya is called dividend payout ratio. Okay, DPR, dividend, pero DPO kasi dividend paid and out, no? Dividend payout ratio ang tawag doon. Okay, isang importanteng function ng finance, and this could be one of the most important, if not the most important, is mag-i-issue ba ng dividends? Kung mag-i-issue ng dividends, anong klase? Okay, sabi natin kanina, okay, hindi ko pa pala nasasagot yan, ano? Okay, sagutin ko ngayon. Bakit importante, guys, why is it important for firms to, particularly listed companies, to issue dividends? Bakit kaya? Technically, guys, dividend distribution also maximizes shareholder value. In what sense? Okay, so di ba magde-decide ang company, sino yung nag-chat? Yes, thank you, Jody. You're correct, no? To give a return to shareholders. Tama. Tama. Kasi, pwede namang sabihin ng company, increase the cost of stock. Tama rin, Ivan. So these are correct answers, no? Kaya nag-i-issue ng dividends is para ma-increase yung stock price. I'll explain kung bakit nag-i-increase yung stock price kung may dividends. No? So sabi natin, return to shareholders yan. Okay. And if you return dividends, if the company issues dividends to shareholders, it sends a very powerful communication. It sends a very powerful message to everyone in the industry, to everyone in the business, in any business circle. No? Pag nag-i-issue ng dividends, ang sinasabi ng company niya, parang sinasabi niya, hey, we're good here, we're stable here. We have excess cash in order to return to our shareholders. Maganda yung cash flow namin. Yun ang sinasabi niya. Okay? So nakapag-i-issue ng dividends, ibig sabihin, ang pwedeng assumption yan, ang pwedeng perception is that the company is doing well, okay yung profitability nila, okay yung sales nila, operations nila is okay. That's why it's able to issue dividends. Lalo na yung mga regularly nagbibigay ng dividends. No? Quarterly, yung iba semi-annual, yung iba annual. So, yung perception ng mga tao about that company rises, no? Tumataas. So, anong nangyayari pag ganyan, na-engganyo tuloy, na-entice yung mga tao na, ay, mag-invest din ako sa ganyan kasi grabe yung dividends performance nila. Tapos yung capital appreciation pa, grabe, tumataas talaga yung value. Bakit tumataas yung value? Now, one factor for that is the dividends. Bakit? Remember guys, may perception yung market eh. Pag nakikita nila, ito si Jollibee, ito si San Miguel, ito si PLDT, lagi nagbibigay ng dividends without fail. It must be a good company. Tingnan natin earnings nila, ang ganda ng earnings. Okay? So, gusto ko mag-invest yan. So, mag-i-invest ako dyan, kunyari sa secondary market, no? Sa Philippine Stock Exchange. Bibili ako ng shares of stocks. Okay? And then, pag ganyan guys, usually dumadami yung gustong bumili. So, dumadami yung order for that company, for Jollibee. So what happens when you have a fixed amount of shares available there in the market, tumataas yung dami ng gustong bumili. Okay, so we know the basic rule, guys, the law of supply and demand. No? Pag tumataas yung demand, guys, given constant supply, ano mangyayari? Prices will tend to go up. So that's why, guys, nagkakaroon tayo ng capital appreciation. Okay, we experience what we call capital appreciation kasi nga maganda yung performance ng company, maraming gustong bumili dun sa sa business na yan. No? Okay, clear yun guys? Clear so far? Paki-chat nga guys, clear? Okay. Alright, thank you, thank you. Bakit parang ang bilis ng oras? 15 minutes na lang? Okay. Sige. Tuloy natin to. Kung saan man tayo umabot, no? Okay. So, going back here. Dito tayo. Okay, so, capital investments, financing investments, and the dividend investments, no? So, decide how and when to return capital to investors. Okay. So, na-discuss natin to, yung WACC, okay? Yung weighted average cost of capital or hurdle rate. And then, sabi natin yung leverage, no? Okay? Importante na may utang din yung company kasi pag dumating yung time na kakailanganin nila ng financing from financing institutions, may track record sila. No? Okay, so, all right. Mali ito. Dapat 49 to, no? Okay, so, we answered this already. Okay, so to summarize this, guys, yung investment principle. Ano ba yung inaalam natin sa investment principle? Kailangan ng company mag-invest in a very lucrative, profitable business. Kasi hindi pa pwedeng hindi nagda-diversify yung business. Pag hindi sila nag-diversify, Mangyayari, very risky yun. At saka they miss out on opportunities to cash in on cash-rich industries. However, ang operative, ang ano natin, ang sabi natin, hindi, meron tayong guidelines, no? May principles tayo. In order for a business, proposed business, a project, to be acceptable, kailangan yung returns niya should be acceptable through comparing it with the weighted average cost of capital. Okay? Sabi din dito, guys, na the hurdle rate should be higher for riskier projects and should reflect the financing mix. Ito yung weighted average cost of capital from the optimal capital structure. Now, kung may mga businesses na very risky, kailangan ina-adjust yung weighted average cost of capital. No? Bakit? The principle of risk and return tells us that the greater the assumed risk, the higher should be the required return. So if we know that we're going to, we have a proposal to engage in this very risky business, kailangan hindi pa pwedeng yung regular na WACC ang gagamitin. Kailangan may premium pa na ilalagay dun sa WACC kasi because of the added risk. Okay? Sabi nga natin, companies are willing to take on additional risk if they are compensated for the additional risk that they're taking. Okay, so yun ang first investment principle natin. Now let me just show this. Okay? So ganyan yung ginagawa ng mga companies, guys. Maraming companies, especially those companies that are well managed by their finance department. Tingnan natin to. Okay, bakit guys si Metro Pacific, tingnan nyo bakit ang dami niyang investments? Nasa toll road siya. Okay, Philippine Toll Roads, NLEX, part owner siya doon. SCTEX, Cavitex, Calax, no? May investment siya sa mga international kasi it's mostly owned by Salim family of Indonesia, no? Ito Metro Pacific. May investment siya definitely sa Indonesia at saka sa Vietnam. No? Tapos 45% ng Meralco owned by Metro Pacific yan, guys. Okay, sa power distribution, no? Met Power meron din sila sa Okay. Ano pong sabihin ng Ano pong ibig sabihin ng okay. Yung percentage dito, ito yung ownership nila sa company. Sa Meralco, 45.5%. Hindi sila majority owner kasi ang majority owner 50+1. Pero malaking malaking owner, no? 45 sila eh. So malaki yung voting rights nito, no? So malaki yung malaki yung stake nila sa Meralco. Ang lakas talaga, Metro Pacific. Hindi lang yun, meron sila sa water, Maynila, 52% sila dyan. Tapos meron silang company na Metro Pacific Water din. Hindi ko lang alam kung ano yung sinaservice itong Metro Pacific Water. And then others, sa logistics, meron din sila. Hospital, sino may-ari ng Makati Med? Guys, Metro Pacific yan. Sino, may stake din sila sa Cardinal Santos. May stake din sila sa Lourdes Hospital sa Mandaluyong. May stake din sila sa Davao Medical Center. Okay? Marami silang stake, guys. They're also into healthcare. Ang lakas sila. Correct. Reason, no? Sir, sa others po, bakit 20% lang 20% lang po. Okay, ito, holding company to, ito Metro Pacific, Metro Pacific Hospitals, no? Okay? I think majority owner sila sa Makati Med, no? But we can check that. I'm not sure ilang percent. Pero I think this is also a holding company, no? Metro Pacific Hospitals. Ibig sabihin yan, maraming businesses under that, no? So ang mga businesses dyan, kasama doon yung Makati Med, no? Okay, may mga tanong dito. Ano yung public float? Public float. Ang public float, guys, these are, I think these are investments that are, sandali Okay, I'm not so sure, no? Okay, sorry about this. Let me check first, I-check na lang muna natin kasi I don't want to give an inaccurate answer, no? I'm not sure about the public float. Ang pagkaalam ko lang, loosely speaking, pag sinabi kasing public float, it's offered sa public. It's pag sinabing offered sa public, listed 'yan sa stock market, no? Hindi ko lang alam yung composition nito. Okay. I think ito na siya. I think ito, no? Si Metro Pacific, guys, yung mother company, 40% niyan are owned by public float, ibig sabihin offered sa stock market, no? Tapos si First Pacific 43% ang own niya sa Metro Pacific. Tapos si GT Capital 16% ang ownership niya sa Metro Pacific. Ibig sabihin iba't ibang owners ng Metro Pacific. 43% si First Pacific, si GT Capital 16%, tapos ang public float, ang ownership ng public 40.9%. Okay, that's what that means. Okay? So I hope that answered your question. Capital investor sa Metro Farms. Coach, yung GT Capital investor, yes, oo. Ang holding niya, si GT Capital, ang holding niya sa Metro Pacific is 16%. Ibig sabihin guys, may equivalent shares to, no? Kung magdi-declare ng dividends, GT Capital will earn, kunyari, 1 peso per share. And if it owns, example lang kunyari ang ownership niya sa Metro Pacific is 16 million shares, tapos nag-declare si Metro Pacific ng 1 peso per share, GT Capital will have dividends of 16 million. Ganun ang ibig sabihin nun, no? Okay? So, ang dami nating actually matututunan dito, no? Light rail, guys, LRT. Okay, may ownership din si Metro Pacific dyan, 35%. Okay? So, maraming, mapapansin nyo, guys, na diversified talaga. And magagaling yung mga finance people yan, guys. So, it's an interesting field, really, guys. So, I'd like to encourage you to consider, guys. Consider nyo, no, na you follow a finance field later on. Kung gusto nyo sa stocks, stock investments, you can become a financial analyst in the future. You can become sa banking, pwede rin, sa insurance. Maraming possible na pwedeng pasukan ng finance. And mataas, guys, yung mga salaries sa mga finance people. CFO, guys, isa sa mataas na salary yan and usually yung mga CFOs, sila mismo yung nagiging minsan mga CEOs. Kasi the best chief, no? Yung mas nakakaintindi talaga ng operations ng business, yung mga isa diyan yung mga CFOs, guys. Kasi naintindihan nila pati operations, pati yung finance, pati finance aspect, no? Okay, BET, ano tong less than 3? Grace, what's BET less than 3? Okay, no, I meant like, okay. Heart ba yun? Okay. Ganun pala yun, Bet is, may natutunan ako ngayon. Bet, heart to. Galing. Ang gabi yung language ng mga Gen X ba kayo, guys? Gen Z ba kayo? Or millennials ba kayo? Hindi ko alam. Hindi, talagang ang ganda, nakakatawa. Nakakatawa talaga. Okay, heart. Okay? Gen Z. Okay, hindi kayo mga millennials, mga Gen Z kayo. Okay, isang example to, guys. Okay, pati si DMCI. I don't know if you're familiar with DMCI. Consunhi to. Family ng Consunhi. Okay, dati lang yan, construction lang yan. Makikita niyo, guys, pag nakikita niyo mga construction sa malaking high-rise, no? Chances are pwedeng DMCI ang gumawa niyan. But they went into real estate. Might as well, bumili sila ng lote tapos sila mag-develop nun. Di ba? May mga DMCI. Magaganda pa naman yung mga condominium na ginagawa ng DMCI compared to SM. Malayo, no? Malayo. Compare nyo, guys. Yung mga real estate, yung mga condominium sa ginagawa ng DMCI as compared to SM. Malayo siya. Malayo yung style, malayo yung ganda, no? So, into water din sila, Maynila, okay? So, nakikita nyo, guys, these are examples of companies that go into, okay, yeah, Vision, tama, correct, na into several types of businesses. Okay? Sino pa ba? Nabanggit ko na dati si Globe. It will be interesting also. Asan ba si Globe? Andito ba siya? Meron ba akong Globe dito? Ayala pala, not Globe. Atong Seeking Alpha. Okay, this is Ayala, no? Okay, wala dito. Okay, anyway. So, dun sa ano nyo guys, sa final report nyo, gandahan nyo kasi magbibigay ako ng example na magandang, ito guys, Metro Pacific. Ito yung ano nila, yung annual report nung for 2014, no? Annual report nila dated November 2015. So mga summary to, kita nyo guys yung format ng paggawa ng summary, no? Tapos tinan nyo yung mga dashboards na ginagawa nila. Ang ganda, no? Okay? So, use guys, paganda may points guys yung ano yung format, yung magandang style, yung magandang design. Okay? So I'm just showing you some examples of MPIC. Okay, nasa power sila, nasa water sila. Okay, so dito pinapakita yung revenue sila coming from these businesses. Okay? So this is a good report. Ang gawin nyo guys, hanap kayo ng mga annual reports sa mga publicly listed companies. Get ideas from that. Ang gaganda ng mga, kasi pinapublish yan, tapos dinidistribute yan sa mga shareholders, they really come up with very good annual reports. No? Ang ganda ng style, ang ganda ng paper, ang ganda ng yung format, siyempre pabonggaan yan. No? Okay, so matatapos na yung time natin. Okay, so going back here guys, so summarize natin Summarize natin sa investment guys, ang sinasabi natin, dapat pag nag-i-invest, 'di ba dapat yung returns niyan mas mataas kaysa dun sa weighted average cost of capital. Tapos dapat ang ginagamit natin sa pag-measure is not net income after tax. It is cash flows. It is cash flows guys. Bakit cash flows? Pag humihiram tayo ng pera, o pag magpapa-infuse sa shareholders ng investment, anong tinatanggap ng company? Anong hinihingi ng company? 'Di ba? Cash din, 'di ba? Pera din. Siyempre, pag hiram tayo sa BPI o sa Metrobank, ang ibibigay ng Metrobank cash. And what is required from the company to these investors? Siyempre, cash din. Kaya nga, guys, sa corollary principle sa finance, cash flow is king. Cash flows are king. So when we analyze projects, ang tinitingnan, hindi yung net income after tax. You have to convert net income after tax to cash flow. Tapos yun ang kino-compute, yung cash flow. Also guys, timing is of the essence. Okay, quickly guys, pakisagot, anong gusto nyo? 1 million ngayon or 1 million after 1 year? Sige nga guys, what do you prefer? 1 million now or 1 million after 1 year? Now. I'm sure magnanaw-now kay lahat dyan, no? Okay, so, yeah, you're correct now. Bakit? Kasi yung pera natin ngayon, pwede natin i-invest yan, tapos after 1 year, mas malaki na sa 1 million yan. Diba? Bakit guys? Kasi, because of the principle of the time value of money. Money has cost. Ayan. So, importante yung timing. Okay, so not only the cash flows, but also the timing of the cash flows. And sa analysis, dapat i-consider lahat ng possible na effects, positive and negative effects. Okay. Then as far as the so financing principle din to guys, no? Financing principle, kailangan alam natin yung financing mix, yung debt at saka equity. At saka yung matching, yung sinabi ko kanina guys, short-term assets, you don't finance that by long-term debt. That's a foolish proposition. Lalo naman guys, yung long-term assets financed by short-term borrowing. Imagine, bibili ka ng building worth 10 billion, worth 20 billion kunyari. Tapos ipapa-finance mo sa bangko, 1 month financing. Okay, wala kang makikita ng ganun, guys. Kasi long-term yung asset mo eh. Okay? Kung uutang ka, pwede mo ipa-spread out yung pagbayad niyan. No? Long-term din dapat. Short-term assets, dapat matching short-term financing. Okay? Also, a role of finance, dapat i-ensure niya yung flow ng capital. Okay? Dapat may alam siya kung saan pwedeng sourcing ng capital. That's a very important role of finance. No? Hindi pa pwedeng nagkakaroon ng liquidity problems. Kailangan marunong ang finance people na humanap ng sourcing. That's also part of their role. No? Okay, next guys. Dividend principle, sabi natin, this is one of the most important financial decisions that a company at a financial manager must make. No? Question, magbibigay ba ng dividends? O dapat i-flow back na lang natin sa operations muna? So that's a decision that they will have to make. may value yung dividends, no? Sabi natin, nakakapag-increase din yung ano niyan, yung shareholder value. But for example, meron naman silang cash pero may magandang project na pwede nang i-reinvest. Pwede naman i-explain sa board na may magandang proposal tayo na hindi muna tayo magbibigay ng dividends. Ano na muna, ipo-flow back na muna natin. Pero yung iba guys, ang ginagawa, talagang kahit a certain percentage lang, nagbibigay pa rin sila ng dividends. No? Okay, so ito principle lang, kung wala magandang project, then ibalik na lang sa owners yung cash in the form of dividends. And then we have this treasury stock. Yung treasury stock guys, yung company mismo, binibili yung stock niya sa market. That's what you call treasury stock. And I want you to find out bakit kaya nila ginagawa yan. Okay, so next meeting guys, pupunta na tayo dito sa summarize lang natin itong mga principles na to. And then we go now to the corollary principles. Okay, so tatapusin natin itong part A and then hopefully makapunta din tayo sa part B. Okay? So did you learn something today guys? Paki-chat na lang kung may natutunan ba. Sorry na minamadali ko yung last part, no? Pero re-review lang din natin ng konti yun next time. Okay, did you learn something today? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So much. Okay, sana naging maganda yung discussion natin yun. Okay, so take care guys. Stop ko na yung recording na to.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Ingat kayo lagi ha.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, salamat.
Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Good
guys.
night.
Thank you. Thank you.